Hello, good evening, afternoon, and once again, welcome back to the channel, everyone. What's this video about? Well, this is a video to check the differences between the King Dragun and the Type 59 and my personal opinion on both. So, why don't we just start with the basic facts of the differences between the two, going from top to bottom from the stats page on the World of Tanks website. And we start with the basics as being the engine. Zero difference. Everything regarding the tank, not including hidden stats in regards to terrain resistance, etc., is exactly the same. 520 horsepower, 56 kph speed limit, traverse is 46 degrees a second, and the turret traverse is also 46 degrees a second. Same for both tanks, despite the fact King Dragun obviously gets a different turret, which I believe is just purely the aesthetic reasons for the both. Obviously, you've got the red turret and all the things that go with it. And in that case, what about the armour? Again, exactly the same. 100mm on the front, 80 on the sides, 45 on the rear, a 200mm on the front, 130 on the sides, and 60 on the rear for the turret. So all in all, again, exactly the same. Now we start to see some differences. What happens when we come on to the armament of the tank? Well, from the top, the gun is 100mm. You get in both of these tanks 50 rounds, and your damage averages at 250 for your standard and your APCR. And 330 for your high explosive. Now we get into the differences between the two. The armor penetration on the standard Type 59 is 181mm. You go up to 241 with the APCR. On the actual stats page, it will go between 136 to 226 for standard and 181 to 301 with the APCR composite rigid. That is on the Type 59. On the King Dragun, you move from 181mm penetration to 190 on the standard, and you go from 241 to 247 for the APCR. Your HE stays the same at 50. Now on the stats page on the actual World of Tanks console, it's 143 to 38 for the standard and 185 to 309 for the APCR. So there's only very slight differences, and I would say that the alpha damage you actually get tends to be here, there, and everywhere. It can change quite often. So with that, what else do you get different? Well, here we get some interesting statistics. The rate of fire on the Type 59 is 6.9. The King Dragun is slightly slower at 6.67. Kind of a given when you look at the other stats. So the aiming time on the Type 59 is 2.9. These are all stock without crew and accessories, etc. On the King Dragun, it's 2.3. The dispersion is 0.39 on the Type 59, and the King Dragun is 0.37. Both remain at 380 meters view range. Both themselves make 57% silver, 15% XP, but your King Dragun also boosts a 30% crew XP bonus. And the main difference, the Type 59 is premium match made, so only sees tier 9, whereas the King Dragun sees tier 10. My previous video showed that this tank sometimes can handle itself in tier 10s, providing you have a decent team to back you up. But I would hesitate to say that it deserves to be at tier 10. Why? Well, we look at the PC variant. The reason why we look at the PC variant is that it's still premium match made. And what do we see as being a difference? Well, obviously the penetration remains the same at 181 and 231 for the premium rounds. Remains the same at 6.9 rounds a minute. And the accuracy, though, is 0.39. So what's different? Well, the aiming time is 2.3 seconds. The Type 59 on the PC gets a 2.3 second aim time, which is the same as the King Dragun. And whilst it gets some penetration buff, obviously it's not exactly a massive amount. Not something you will, it's 9mm. It's not, it doesn't feel like it would make a difference. This is the issue that other people have expressed in the forums in many different types of posts. And you can see how it's a slight kick in the teeth. The buffs that the King Dragun has is what the Type 59 should have, at least in regards to some of the same that the PC gets. But instead, what we have is another tank for people to buy, and the Type 59 remains the same. That doesn't scream good. And I say that in a sense without pointing out the obvious, that what they've effectively done is given us a buff tank, and instead of buffing the tank that probably requires the buffs as what's on the PC, if we're going to have some sort of balance between the two, because obviously they seem to pick and choose what they want from the PC and what might work for console, but it doesn't always seem the case, and they've given us a buff tank that we then need to buy, rather than buffing the tank in question. The SDA2 is a prime example of a tank that doesn't need to be buffed, that does get buffed on a regular basis. That is a premium match made tank, and we haven't had another one that we need to buy in order to get the buffed variant. This is what the Type 59 feels like when you then move to the King Dragun. This tank itself is, well, I'd like to say good in tier 8 games. I mean, the Type 59 itself is good in tier 8 games. The slight changes it gets, it makes it a lot better. The penetration buffs, you could probably notice it a bit more in those games, but the aim time itself is one of the main aspects which you will find as being really, really, really good. But I don't think it should be a tier 10 seeing tank. My main gripe is always going to be the fact that what they've done is given us a tank that we can purchase that is a buff variant of the Type 59 rather than buffing the Type 59, and I can see why people are annoyed by it. I'd be annoyed. One of the reasons I specifically got this is I wanted the Type 59 tank, and this just came along with it. Unfortunately, the cost for it was a lot more, and the Type 59 wasn't available on its own. I wasn't too much interested in getting the King Dragun, because I don't want to buy a buffed variant of a tank which should be buffed in the first place. Now, I'm not trying to put a downer on things by releasing videos that seem to be negative towards wargaming, but there are multiple things that keep going west rather than east, so to speak, and this just doesn't feel right that we are having to purchase a buffed variant of a tank which is available on the PC as a balance change, because again, we take changes from the PC and bring them into the console, whether that be maps and balance changes of tanks, the Death Star being one of them that we should actually have changed and hasn't, but that's just for another day. And I just can't help but think that this is just the wrong way to go about it. I mean, if you have your own different opinions, I'd love to hear them in the comments, but I can't see an actual reason to bring in this tank, the King Dragun, into the game as anything other than a money-making excuse, because of it being bundled with the Type 59, and if people want the Type 59 as I did, they have to fork out and get this. Why would I want the same tank with slight buffs in my garage? What is the actual point? There is no point to this tank. The changes it's made to it, whilst again, in some cases actually quite decent, what's the point in both of them? I don't want the King Dragun, I wanted the Type 59, and I'm being forced to get the King Dragun because I want the Type 59. All well and good. I mean, I ended up doing it anyway. There are a few other people that have done the same. One of the main reasons I did actually get it is I wanted to make a comparison video and see the differences between the two, and also provide you with some sort of actual evidence to back up my point. Now, whilst you watch the video in the background, you can see it's doing okay. That's not really the point. It's just tier 8 game, and a lot of people aren't very clued up in this game particularly, but that's beside the point. I don't see the point in this tank, and I'm extremely disappointed in the way that Wargaming have gone about it, at least specifically console-wise. But I'd love to hear your comments in the section below. Let me know how you think, and if you agree or disagree, and we'll see how it goes from there. If you did like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.